In this video, we are going to be covering what's going on in the market, some major NFT mints by some of the world's largest brands, and whether or not you should be buying or not. Now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and let's dive in. Now, if you've been looking on CoinMarketCap, I see green all across the board. Green, 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 green. If you just threw a dart at a random coin, it'll probably be going up right now. So, mainly looking at Ethereum, because most of the NFTs I look at are on Ethereum, it's pumping to 1.66, almost to 1.7K, which is absolutely crazy, honestly, because there's just been a rally from 1.4 all the way to 1.6 in a very short amount of time. Why is it pumping during this market? I'm not exactly sure, to be completely honest, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people who do a lot of technical analysis on that, but it seems like people are more confident in Ethereum at the moment compared to, let's say, like 2 weeks ago, right? A learning lesson I'm taking away from this is even during a bear market, there are opportunities to make money. There obviously is a lot more risk, but if you think about it, Ethereum went from 800 to 1.7, which is pretty much like a 2x. If you kind of caught that wave, if you DCA down and then ride the wave up, yeah, it's possible you could have made money, but just because it's a bear market and it's more difficult to make money, it doesn't make it impossible. Now, diving into some NFT projects by some of the largest brands, like I mentioned earlier. The first project I want to be talking about is going to be StickMen Toys, right? So this is going to be a collaboration between Warner Brothers, Capso, and Bose, right? We definitely have seen previous projects in the past that have better 3D that just turned out to be rugs, right? But because they have the branding, because Bose is behind this, because Warner Bros is behind this, obviously they have a lot more to lose if they do a cash grab, so probably not a cash grab. And also it's a free mint, right? So this is actually pretty interesting because when somebody makes it a free mint, there's actually very low expectations, right? If let's say it goes to zero, or let's say the floor price is very low, they could always say like, well, it was a free mint, so no matter what, it's a win because we literally gave it away for free. Obviously, they're going to make money on royalties, which is peanuts compared to how much Bose and Warner Brothers are making. Just even if they made a couple million, it's actually just a drop in the bucket compared to the actual sales that they have. From my perspective, this is just, larger companies moving into the NFT space to get their feet wet, to learn about how the industry works, to say they were an early adopter, and really just to learn to see whether or not this makes sense for their business moving forward. And it could be that NFTs is not the route they want to go, but because they did it in this very low upfront cost way relative to how much they make, even if they failed, it's not really a failure. They can just call it an experiment. And if it does work out and they do want to continue this forward, then they're one of the only audio companies in the space that actually has an NFT that launched during a bear market. And, they actually have that head start. So what do you get when you actually buy this NFT? You're going to get access to the playground, where you're going to be able to claim some toys, streetwear, physical collectibles, rewards from global brand collaborations. I guess if you believe in Warner Brothers and you believe that they're going to create more IP under this, then yeah, it's kind of interesting. So each toy comes with its own 30-second track generated from a range of bass lines, so generative music, and the team, all docs, they got their LinkedIn and their Twitter profiles up, so that is always great. It's kind of unclear to say whether or not this is going to be valuable because you can't really say that the next NFTs that they're going to give you for free or whatever the case is will be valuable, but something to watch out for. Now, the next project I actually want to talk about is not an NFT project, but I kind of want to give you a case study or a way of thinking about NFTs to understand like how you might be able to provide value in an NFT, especially if you are a project founder or you're like a speculator or investor and you're kind of evaluating these projects. So basically, this is guy Daniel Arsham, who has an architecture firm and design firm. He's been designing and collaborating with a lot of top tier brands, and one of the brands they collaborated is Pokemon. So they have this whole series where it's kind of like they have these crystallized versions of Pokemon, and then the latest one that's going to come out in a day is actually this Squirtle over here, right? This is probably going to cost a few $100s, and you might be thinking, well, why would anyone buy this? Again, this is not an NFT, but it's just an exercise to think about how you can create values from collectibles. So if you look on StockX, right, which is one of the premier places to buy and sell collectibles, streetwear, watches, sneakers, these things actually go for a high price. So like the Pikachu version of one is like 3K right now. They got a collaboration with Porsche and Mickey Mouse and so on and so forth. So when people are buying this, and I actually want to buy one of these, we're thinking, okay, we're going to buy this thing, and one day this thing is going to appreciate in value, so we can resell it if we want. Or if we don't want to resell it, we can just put it back in the bookshelf, have it as a background drop, and it's going to be great, right? And so there's going to be a value where you give someone money and you get something back that, because it controls supply and demand so well, this is going to be only 500 units, then the value of this thing is going to increase, most likely, as long as they have a reputable brand moving forward, which is what they want to do. If, let's say, Daniel Arsham decided to do an NFT, you get this Pikachu thing and you get a digital collectible as like proof of ownership that you actually bought the first one, and it comes with a physical, then it would be kind of easy to sell the NFT, right? Because the physical that you get is already worth the value that you paid, plus you're getting this like digital collectible, and it incentivizes people to buy the physical, it incentivizes people to buy collectibles on a secondary market so that they can get the next NFT or physical in the future, right? That's just an example of how that would work. Now, the issue a lot of Web3 brands get it wrong is that because the brand itself that they're selling, it's not of value quite yet, and it's going to take a long time. If they do the strategy of like buy this NFT, to buy this NFT, and then maybe you get a toy, it's like, well, the toy is not going to be valuable, the NFT is not going to be valuable, so it's like, why would I put in money if I don't know if I'm going to get a return on investment, or I don't feel confident that I'm going to get a return on investment, right? Again, nothing is guaranteed, but the confidence level is different. But for brands that have been building for a long time, they already are good at collectibles and they move into the space and they carry that brand with them, it's a lot more easier to sell their NFT because they understand the supply and demand. Whereas for NFTs, a lot of times people try to make too much money on the upfront mint, and then they increase the supply way too much, and then they can't create that scarcity anymore because they can't increase demand to match that supply. If you are doing luxury items, collectibles, diamonds, watches, what typically happens is that you build your brand, and then from there you keep increasing demand with marketing or whatever the case is, collaborations, and then you cut supply. Demand will outweigh supply, and so over time you can constantly put out this whole ecosystem of collectibles that people will love to collect. Just like how Daniel Arsham is creating these crystallized Pokemon. I'm sure he could have created 10,000 units if he wanted to, and he could have made a lot of money on one sale, but because they're thinking years ahead, they do low supply and they get paid in different ways, obviously, and it just makes it more exciting to collect. And as a collector, you know, you feel more confident when you buy this thing that they're not going to totally dilute the market. And so I think that's a big learning lesson that NFTs should probably take and implement, like, you know, fundamental business strategies and not just like try to make maximum amount of money on mint, especially if they're not really thinking long term in terms of can the demand outweigh the supply, and usually supply is much higher than demand, and that's how things go south. Now, talking about another billion-dollar brand, we're going to be talking about Hello Kitty. They will have a NFT project coming out. The same people that did the Hey Arnold Rugrats NFT with Nickelodeon, RECUR, they are going to be launching this Hello Kitty Friends project. So it seems like RECUR is just going out to every large brand and just like launching their NFT. Based on the blog that they put out, it seems like they're going to be 10,000 unique PFPs. Besides that, there's not much utilities. For the most part, it feels like they're just selling a picture for whatever the price is, which is kind of like an expensive picture. But because there's an IP attached to it, people have that speculation of, oh, if I buy this Hello Kitty thing, what if one day they launch another NFT and I want to be on the ground on that, right? But at the same time, what if it's useless, right? So you definitely play the speculative game when you buy into these things. You're actually buying into narrative and hype, not necessarily utility of what you get or connection with community, right? Because it's like Hello Kitty fans, are they going to buy this and connect with other Hello Kitty fans all around the world? Hard to say, right? Because if RECUR is busy launching new projects, you know, every other month, then who's actually building that community? Is it Hello Kitty that's building the community? There's no information about how much resources are being put into building that community. So it's like, I question, what is the value of this? Is it that it only sells because people who grew up in the 90s and they were kids when these things came out, like Hey Arnold and Hello Kitty, are they going to be nostalgic about it and they're just going to buy it because it is Hello Kitty, it is Hey Arnold, it is the Rugrats, or is it something more that they can offer? And right now, it doesn't seem like they can offer a lot, although that can change in the future, obviously, when you purchase these things. So if you buy it, understand entry and exit, understand hype, understand that you need to look at the team of who is actually driving the project forward. And if there are no figureheads or faces publicly saying they're driving it forward, then it's like, okay, well, what's really going on, right? And those are always things you need to think about when you have a long-term horizon. If you have a short-term horizon, it doesn't really matter, just flip it, right? Now, in other news, OpenSea, by popular demand, just created a new feature where multiple creators can receive earnings from OpenSea listings. And this is actually pretty good from a technology perspective, where, or before, you have to set the royalties. It goes to one wallet and that person has control of all the money, and then they decide where to give what money, right? So if you set it in OpenSea automatically, then it kind of just saves that extra step of having to split the royalties manually. And also there's a trust factor of like, hey, you know, give me my money, or sometimes people are late or whatever, right? So that's pretty good. And also if they want to donate to charity, you can see on the blockchain that, like, you know, let's say like 10% of the royalties goes to this charity, and everybody can see it. It's all public, so nobody can be like, oh, they didn't give it to me, right? It's like all on the blockchain, which is a pretty interesting feature. Moving into gaming, Sandbox partners with Gravity, which is a studio, to implement Ragnarok IP into the Sandbox. Ragnarok was like this anime style MMORPG that was actually very popular. I actually also played it too when I was a kid. Interesting that Ragnarok would move into these Sandbox. So that's pretty cool that you have these IPs that are also nostalgic moving into the space. Now, the question I personally have is like, yes, this is cool. They're bringing on IPs that are nostalgic, but what is the value of that? Is it gonna make me want to play Ragnarok on Sandbox? Seeing this, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll check it out. But then if I look at the teaser and the gameplay and stuff like that, and it doesn't look good, I'm not jumping into the Sandbox, right? And so far, from my personal opinion, there hasn't been any particular game or IP that that would make me want to try the Sandbox. I literally haven't tried it yet because there's nothing that seems like it was worth the time. During the bull market, when CyberKongz was really hot and they were one of the first people to build VX assets and say like, hey, we're gonna like build in a Sandbox, that was probably the most exciting thing during that narrative play. And a lot of people bought Sandbox assets because of that, and that's why we see like everyone doing VX models. But now I'm a little skeptical, right? Because it's like, yes, everyone's building these VX models and stuff like that, but like nobody's playing the Sandbox and nobody's talking about it either. The only news that comes around is when a big IP decides to build in the Sandbox, but what if they build all these things that nobody wants to play, right? I'm not saying that it's going to be bad. I'm just saying that those are the risks that I see when, you know, these kind of brands onboard IP. It just doesn't hit. It could hit and become the next big thing and everyone's in the Sandbox, but you know, understand your risk to reward and everything like that. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is gonna be NFT Worlds. And as you know, if you've been following the news, Minecraft made a surprising decision, or maybe not that surprising, to not allow any NFTs to be sold into their platforms, even if you have a private server. So that actually shut down a lot of projects in a sense, because if they built their entire capacity or their value building on top of Minecraft, now they can't do it. NFT Worlds, they're doing this whole rebrand. They changed their logo and they're like, all right, if we can't do the Minecraft thing, then we got to do something else. And so in 2 days, they're going to make some kind of announcement. In my honest opinion, it's pretty risky to get into NFT Worlds, right? I'm not saying they're good or bad builders, right? But if they're pivoting away from Minecraft, it's kind of like, okay, well, all the assets that they've been building for months, what is the result of that, right? Like if we're going to NFT World Twitter page, for example, it's like, I don't see any progress of what they are building. But the only thing that I personally have seen is them using Minecraft to build like really crazy in-game experiences, which is cool. But then, I mean, people have already been doing it on Minecraft private servers, right? So it's like, well, where does the NFT come in play? They have to pivot away from Minecraft and build their own platform and stuff like that. You're basically building a metaverse on your own, possibly, right? And so it's like, you're going to compete against like Sandbox, for example, and every other person doing a metaverse. And from my perspective, metaverses in general right now, the narrative is not that strong because people don't believe that you can pull it off. Most likely only like 1 or 2 out of like the hundreds that are trying are actually going to pull off any kind of metaverse thing that people want to hang out in. And again, I'm not bashing it. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that it's definitely risky if you think long term of like who's actually going to pull it off. They're kind of starting over, right? And so whatever it is that they're building, you're going to have to wait a long time. And so with that said, that's everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And we also got a lot of upcoming podcasts and interviews with some large projects coming soon. So be sure to tune in for that and turn on your notifications to get notified when they drop. With that said, my name is Patrick Dang, and I will see you guys in the next one.